Prior to even the program starting, we went down to southern Missouri because they had sustained some major flooding. And we were already thinking about applying for a grant then, but there were no declarations for FEMA public assistance at that time. So we started the meetings with the counties, the road and bridge crews, all the parties that could potentially be work sites. We got a meeting in, and the Joplin tornado happened on May the 22nd. On May the 24th, we submitted an emergency application for 400 workers and $5.8 million. That was approved on the 27th of May. And the first time I was in Joplin was probably 2 weeks after the tornado. Emergency status was just over at that time. And I just remember pulling up to that stop sign going, oh my gosh.
The unique part about it was the Guard was able to bring on additional manpower, which was available for this particular purpose. And it actually suited it well, as I foresaw these particular work groups in being 10 to 12 individuals actually fit what we usually have in the military in a squad. So we were able to tweak the program into more of a military type organization, which then picked it up and made it work, I think, rather well.
In 2011, between the Northwest flooding, the Southern flooding, and the Joplin tornado, 49 counties out of 114 were declared for FEMA public assistance. So the grants throughout the state rose to $38.6 million, and we plan to employ 2,450 people at least, cleaning up all of the massive amounts of flooding and debris, damage, county roads that were cut in half. It was just a crazy year for Missouri.
Being able to use the expertise that our soldiers have when they come in as a guardsman, many of them work as contractors, as earth movers and so forth in their civilian life. So they bring those citizen soldier skills to the fight, which meant that we were able to really put big equipment in to help bolster and save levees. Our skill in the air with our aviation, we were able to use Black Hawk helicopters to bring in 1-ton sandbags to drop those bags in on levees to help protect and secure the levees from failure.
Residents in these areas are so happy to see basically their own backyard being cleaned up. Things that were just completely and totally destroyed in their own area. When the first 13 went to work, that was really exciting in the middle of June. But then whenever, on September the 22nd, when there was 500 debris workers out in the field being supervised by the National Guard in Joplin, and then there was, hundreds more starting, there was everywhere. When the program began, there were so many entities involved, and there still are so many entities involved. I mean, just on the flooding alone prior to the tornado, the meetings and the agencies that were there showing all the acres of land underwater, and who can do what at which state agency.
Our mantra is, helping to protect good people from bad things, and that's what our mission is for the state, for the governor. Governor knows that, realizes that, and that's why he's opted to put the Guard in charge, whether it's a flood, a tornado, other natural disasters.
On that fateful day in May, nature let loose a powerful force that cleaved our city in two and rendered unspeakable damage. But in doing so, it unleashed an even more powerful force, much stronger than the winds that day. It is a force that has drawn this town together and has united us in a common effort that will make Joplin better than it was before. We are forever linked by our common experiences on that very uncommon day.
Make no mistake, the tornado of May 22nd affected all of us. Some lost their jobs, some lost their homes, and some lost their loved ones, but none of us lost hope.
In Joplin, the sun rises every day on a different place and sets every night on a better place. The lesson of Joplin is clear. With teamwork and tenacity, the impossible is possible.
like a bomb went off. There were no, if there were trees, they didn't have leaves. It was just, our whole community was devastated.
Your eyes could not take it all in.
Out in the field, we would get these calls. They think there's a body such and such place. Get your equipment over there. You know, so we, you know, and pumping out swimming pools. You know, and you're sitting there watching the pool go down and wondering if you're going to find a body. Sniffing around, and I looked over at him. I said, "This is weird stuff."
We were like chickens with our heads cut off. We were running around. We weren't sure what to do.
Literally came home to nothing with just literally the clothes on my back for my honeymoon.
I'm a veteran of Iraq, and I saw some of the battlefields that were left in Iraq, and much of what I saw looked a lot like what I saw in Joplin.
And we heard it, and the next day we seen it, and you know, we did our best to help to do what we could, but it was devastating.
You know, that can bring tears to your eyes.
There was actually more debris per cubic yard than the World Trade Center.
Started out the day after the disaster, just 3 of us trying to figure out, okay, what's next? We know that National Emergency Grant's probably coming, and how are we going to help our community through the turmoil that was going on.
When you rolled in the first day, just to see the devastation, I personally have never seen anything like it. You still get emotional when you look at the pictures. The pictures didn't justify.
I had started a brand new job about 2 weeks before the tornado, my dream job, and left the office on Friday night, and as of Monday morning then there was no more job, no more dream job, so I just checked in with the Career Center, and so they immediately called me and asked me if I would come over and become part of the program, and it went from then. You relive it each time someone has a story. But then you have to stop and think you're helping that person get past that. We're going to move on. It's such an area of uncertainty, and like I said, in my 20, 30 years of human resources, I've had lots of instances of why people lost their jobs, but never such as an EF5 tornado.
Devastating feeling to see some of the people out here that you know, that just needed so much help, and just how the community came together, and just complete strangers came together. And if I've learned anything, it's just more compassion, you know, and caring to help the next person.
The tornado kind of put me out of work, and I found this, and I hope it puts me back on track. And I have seen new construction coming into town. So, I mean, Joplin's got nowhere to go but grow.
We're on the chainsaw crew. It's looked awful. It's looking good now.
Gives people a chance that didn't have work before to actually get out. Like me, like I hadn't worked in 3 years, so it's actually giving me some little bit of work history to put, you know, when I looking for another job. So,
plus, plus you feel like you're helping people that just because I wasn't affected, I feel like I'm out here helping, you know, because the people that were affected.
We've experienced, you know, very oppressive heat here in the summer of 2012, and we had a lot of heat dealing with these issues in the implementation in 2011 as well. And what I kept hearing over and over again from, you know, from our high quality participants was that the work was very difficult, and they didn't enjoy the work per se. It was very hard. It was in, you know, rough conditions with the disaster scenario and the heat and everything. So not necessarily that they liked the work, but they really, really loved the reason why they were doing it. Going into this thing in mid-2011, that was really, you know, 3 goals for us. Make sure we have workforce to provide help for the cleanup effort, and, you know, make sure that people were still here when these businesses were reopening and they could hire them back or hire new people back. And then simply a way to curb the unemployment trends that have been happening on a national scale coming out of the recession. It was favorable. Joplin was doing better than the national and state average even before the tornado, but wanted to make sure that any of those on long-term unemployment had a way to take part in this program as well.
I actually worked for the Disaster Recovery Jobs Program as a worksite coordinator starting in June of last year. And our first employees in the program here in Joplin were with Rebuild Joplin. We had 5 employees that were working on their website. In the beginning, the only employees Rebuild Joplin had were DRJP participants. Rebuild Joplin could not have had the success then or now if it hadn't been for the DRJP, allowing us to utilize those employees as a resource. Of our other employees that are here right now, I'm already talking to her hopeful future employer and giving them a recommendation.
I was unemployed for 2 years before I actually was placed in this position, and my unemployment had run out, and without this job I don't know what we'd be doing, because we wouldn't have any income at all. So I know that it helps people who desperately need a job get a job, and it gives us the flexibility to also try and find permanent employment as well while we're working, and it's just it's a blessing and a godsend to people who've been unable to secure permanent employment.
To rely on volunteers is a precarious situation for any recovery efforts. Volunteers, some of them have great skill sets and they're able to provide those, but it's on a temporary basis. Some do not have the skill sets that recovery efforts need, and so having the DRJP that can provide people with skills and in some cases, or people to just do basic work, but on a consistent basis and for a long term, has been vital to the recovery of Joplin.
As soon as that summer was coming to a close, we realized we did not have enough people to continue to do what had developed here, which was feeding thousands of meals a day and providing hundreds and hundreds of families food and clothing and hygiene kits. So when we were made aware of the program to hire individuals through the Workforce Investment Board, that became for us really the promise, the hope that disaster recovery could continue. I think about 35 people initially came in from that program, which kept us moving forward at a strong pace to provide recovery here in our community. That builds hope here in our community, and Joplin needs a lot of hope.
For us, we experienced a lot of flash flooding, and so ours was mostly debris related in that sense. So we had 5 of our 7 county regions that were declared by FEMA, and of those 5, after we went out and did some of the county meetings, 3 of those 5 decided to come on board. That was Polk, Taney, and Webster counties. We have, I think, a greater population of persons who have been out of work a long time. So when you start to hear some of those barriers that they're dealing with in terms of why they haven't been employed, the thing that seems to always surface is they just are ready to be active again. So this program, whether they came from debris-related fields or construction beforehand, has been good, I think, just to get outside and be busy. So we talk a lot, in the beginning when we do the orientation with them, how their posture isn't the best or they don't have any confidence, and then you come back in 3-4 months into the program, they've got haircuts, they're standing a little taller. There's a different sense of pride in how they carry themselves, right down to their work boots and their uniform. So for me, that's the best part. And now that we're starting to see the first round of participants phase out and talk about training opportunities, they're really thinking about interests and jobs that maybe they hadn't thought of beforehand, and I think really are motivated to kind of take it to the next level.
The participants I've met, the greatest thing I see is they have some hope.
they have some hope of a job. They have some hope for some training that wouldn't have been available to them. And they're just very grateful. They're hard workers. A lot of them fall into a little bit older age group demographic that have had a real difficulty finding employment. And for a lot of our people, they're going on and using this as their work experience, and they're getting other jobs.
We've had participants who haven't lasted who've come back in and then shared because of the grant, because of the chance we gave them, that they then found that confidence, you know, the short time that they were on it, to be an active job seeker.
I think the DRJP program has tremendously improved the community, the county roads. Some of the city roadways here in Potosi have been cleaned up, and there's a creek you can't see behind here that runs behind the city that really clogged up a lot of their ditches and their culverts here in the city. Out on the county roads, it's a little different situation where the runoff from the hills have actually cut through the center of the gravel roads, making huge ruts to where buses and other vehicles can't get through. So we've seen a lot of improvement. For Washington County overall, we've had 450 miles of bad road, and we've probably repaired about 60% of that so far. We've also had quite a few folks placed while they were still employed with the DRJP program.
You know, guys came in here, didn't know how to drive dump trucks, didn't know how to operate skid steers, chainsaws, and now they're learning that. So that puts them forward to another job. You know, it gives them, you know, more skills when they have to look for another job. It has put people to work that didn't have jobs, you know, like myself, that were laid off, and it's given us a chance to upgrade the roads and bridges around and clean everything out and straighten up everything that needs fixed.
I think that the workforce is a great thing. What we're doing here, it's given some of the men a lot of go ahead. You know, we try to train them, you know, to do different things than what they have. We've took it upon ourselves to try to get each one of them that comes in and has got a CDL, Class B, which is another step for the workforce. So when they leave, they can get them another job, you know. And as far as the workforce, they do a heck of a good job. We don't have no problems with them. They've really been an asset to the Washington County. We've hired a couple out of workforce, one on my end and two, I think, on Todd Moyer's end.
Had to string out the work. I mean, you know, it wouldn't have gotten done. There would have been jobs that we just had to put off, or we'd had to prioritize everything, and it would have been done according to the priorities. That's all you could do. And with the added workforce, we didn't have the funds to do all this. And so in that regard, it's been very helpful. You know, we've put several people to work here for a period of over a year now, I guess, or at a year. So that's gotten them off of the unemployment line, and hopefully once they leave our work, they can then go to a different place and have a job.
I think the work sites have been very positive of the workers. Our county commissioners, presiding commissioners, are a part of our board, and this has been a really good chance for them to work directly with the programs and directly with the participants. We've had several cases of participants being hired by the road and bridge crews, so they've gone on to full-time employment with those work sites, and that's been, you know, really great. And they've also been able to provide the participants with, you know, letters of recommendation and just references when they apply for other jobs.
I've really enjoyed seeing the age group between there. We've had guys as young as 18 years old come in and start working, and it's their first job. And then we've had at least one individual who's 79 years old who hadn't worked in a while. And to see them being plugged in either for the first time or for the first time in a long time into the workforce, and seeing their enthusiasm about working and cleaning up the disaster relief for the land that they love, their community, that has just been wonderful. We've had several employees also go on to work full-time in the state parks as well. And, you know, according to the people who run the state parks, they treat the DRJP participants as if they're just regular employees. They get paid the same. They work alongside the permanent crews, and they feel a large sense of pride for what they're doing, because they're with the crews that are there every day, and they are encouraged to put the same amount of effort into it.
It's been a godsend to us at Missouri State Parks. We unfortunately suffered from the same disasters in 2011 as a lot of Missourians did, but we've been very fortunate to be able to partner with the workforce development and the workforce investment boards to find jobs for people that are unemployed and to get some work done in our parks that we wouldn't have been able to get to for a long time with our ordinary workforce. So it's been a great benefit to us at State Parks, particularly here at Sam A. Baker State Park. We've more than tripled our workforce here at the park, so we provided the benefit of giving individuals jobs when they need them and giving them work experience. And by tripling our own workforce, it's allowed us to get projects done much more quickly so that the park can be open for our guests and visitors to enjoy. Instead of some of the work that's been done, instead of waiting days, weeks, or even months to be able to tackle some of these projects, we've been able to get to them right away. We've had almost 30,000 hours of labor invested through the program here at Sam A. Baker State Park, and when you talk about tripling our workforce, you can get a lot done.
I had worked in the timber all my life, and that was a thing I understood that it would be outside work, and that's something I like. We come in to do all trail work, so we've done all of our work on the trails, doing erosion work like we're doing here, replacing and clearing back out where people can access it. It's amazing at the work that we've done, that everybody's done, even the crew that was here before. I mean, whenever you walk up to like this that we're working on today, a 10 or 12 foot trench that's washed out and there's no way to cross it on the trail, and then when you start putting it back together and you see what you've done, you can see it.
They gave me the title of lead, helped in my supervision skills. I actually supervised 5 to 8 people, and I learned how to use the trail tools that you need here. So that all helped me generate into the temporary seasonal work here at the park. I was only on unemployment for 9 weeks, so I was quite happy when I got hired. It has been wonderful because we have had so many people that were unemployed here in our local area, and it stimulated a lot of revenue that went back to our small towns. And I really think it was helpful for me, I know, because number one, I needed a job, and number two, it helped Piedmont and the local areas and like Greenville, because the money went back into the economy.
Local business owners have been very thankful for what the DRJP program has poured into the local economy. Lots of supplies have been bought locally to where the work sites are, including hammers, nails, all sorts of different supplies.
We started out buying lots of different clothes, work clothes, for the workers that they hired at the park. They've just bought tools and different items for actual working out there. Probably 2010 and 2011 were probably our worst years since we've been in business. The economy was just killing us, and we just were wondering how we were going to get through it. Cash flow was starting to get low. I think this program was one of the things that, there were several things that happened, but one of the things that helped us get our money back on track, with the cash flow. We're really appreciative that they use that for local businesses.
Well, I had been let go from a company that I worked for 12 years, and because they closed the business office and moved it to Colorado. There's so many low-income families in our area, particularly here in Texas County. We've had a lot of industry leave this area, so our area has become very repressed. And this gives these young people an opportunity to get a skill that will help them step up in life and improve their life, which is a wonderful thing. Had several participants quit the program to go on to full-time employment. There would have been a lot of debris that when the next rains come through that would have just continued to build up and would have caused a lot of havoc around the counties and in the roads, and there would have been a number of roads shut down and closed until those areas could be reached. and it would have taken considerably longer, and it would have really inconvenienced a lot of people getting around.
I was out of work for over a year. One of the guys that just timed out, when he started this program, he didn't know nothing about a chainsaw. When he left, he can run a chainsaw, he can chip brush. You know, it's gave him another means of employment later on. It's a great thing for the community. It benefits the people that don't have a job. It benefits the township itself because they now have the resource to get stuff done quicker than what they could do on their own.
Yeah, it was local, and I had a newborn baby I had to support, and I couldn't find a job anywhere else. And on going to school to be a diesel mechanic or something like that.
After the program's over, that is the plan, is to get into college, to get into an OTC, to offer programs for schooling and other things that would help benefit us completely. Everyone that I've come to know, and I did not know prior to this program, and every employee that was put with me has had the best personality, the best work ethic. I couldn't have been any luckier, and I've met some great people.
I think that it provided a needed employment opportunity for populations of our community that still are reeling from the last remnants of the recession. And I would say particularly in the construction trade area, there are still a lot of persons who have not fully gone back to work in that area, persons in general labor types of jobs. And so it really provided not only an opportunity to help rebuild the communities, but also provided needed employment for those sectors of the community that have not been able to go back to work as fully as they did before the recession hit. And many of them had not necessarily seen the true value of the Career Center and the public workforce system. In Ray County, they were working to repair what the flood had damaged, and if it hadn't been repaired, it would have flooded again, because they wouldn't have been able to clear those creeks if we had not had the manpower to do so. So I think it's avoided another future disaster that might not have had as needed heavier rain, but could have also caused flooding. And so I think but for this project, those things wouldn't have happened.
Getting the people to work has always been my main focus, and trying to alleviate the flooding problems that we've had for years. I personally think it's a great fit. If we can put people displaced and unemployed to work and have a useful project out of it, I don't know how you get any better than that.
I think it's a great program, and it's given a lot of our people in Ray County jobs, and I think it's going to really help the situation on the river. The community has been very good. We've had a lot of excitement around about jobs coming in to Ray County. I've been around Ray County all my life, and we've had problems with the river flooding for years. And this is one of the very first good programs we've seen that's actually going to clean out some of the debris that we need to alleviate flooding. So I think the community is really excited about it.
And the guys have been doing a great job. They've got it started, and now people are really starting to ring off the hook, calling, hey, what's going on, what's going on? So it's been a real good deal.
Our supervisors, and there's a couple of them here today, that are doing a terrific job and really getting right down in the hard work of it themselves. And we got really good people in Ray County that's willing to work, and that's what we like to see as a commission. And it's just that we pride ourselves in working with people and they working with us.
I didn't know much about cutting trees, logging, and I've picked up a lot of knowledge from the individuals that I'm working with. Each one of us has different skills, and we've all, I think, shared some of them with each other.
I've learned a lot about how to work with other supervisors and kind of get a bigger understanding and scope of how you plan and approach a job site and the different steps. And so it's been very informative for me. It's given me a lot broader understanding. Feeling to know that you're actually accomplishing something. You're in there and you're working, and you're actually going to have a product when you're done that benefits the area. So I've been encouraged by that.
It's helped me tremendous, giving me a job when I was employed. So, there's a lot of folks unemployed here in Ray County. They need to work, so
yep.
I think it's great.
Altogether, this grant has been, I think our proudest moment in this agency. 40,000 families have been touched as a result of this work that we've been able to do in the grant. All totaled, this grant has been able to impact over almost 100 communities in the state of Missouri that we've had projects working, lives being changed, lives being touched, people who have worked as a result of this program, worked putting their communities back together again, worked in having the opportunity to gain new skills, had the opportunity to give back, and hundreds of them are getting employed as a result. They're gaining valuable experience. Many of them are getting employed in the very public works departments where they're working on the project. So we want to see people get working again. This project is not only a rebuilding project that helps clean up and other things, but it's also very much an employment project to help people work during the Disaster Recovery Jobs Program, and more importantly, to give them the skills and training they need to become employed after the Disaster Recovery Jobs Program is long behind them.
For us to have gotten this far, I think I credit this program, definitely for 90% of the progress that we've made in this town to look this good.
I think the program was very successful. It was basically creating something out of nothing.
Only to a point now where we can start getting a smile on our face with something happening.
I think it's an amazing and wonderful program. It's kept people in the area when normally they wouldn't have employment here. It helps give them a sense of community with rebuilding and having their own hands-on.
Seeing this community get cleaned up, unbelievable. And I know a lot of it is due to the debris workers, which we track and help find through this program. Our city was a mess, and now it's amazing. It is amazing.
Without the program, it would still be a jumbled up mess.
Say that if we wouldn't have had this program, we would not have accomplished what we did, and we wouldn't be any place close to where we are today.
This has always been a beautiful park, but we had the damage from the flood and the windstorms and everything, and it's a large park with a lot of trails and everything, and due to the work that this program is doing, the trails are being cleared and made more accessible to everyone, and just generally an improvement overall.
It's been a heck of an improvement. I mean, just if you had seen it then and drove by now, you'll say, wow, what a change.
I think it's improved a lot, and it showed that people can work together.
It was tremendously important for my personal life. It gave me what I needed to do to get back on my feet after the storm.
It was a really good opportunity for the citizens of the Joplin, Duquesne, and Cassville area. I feel that we did a lot of good here, and I think that's evident.